Hey guys, it's Jay from skolgamingyt. Welcome to another MLB Perfect Inning 2018 video, and welcome to part 2 out of 5 ranking all the team decks from 30 to 1. In this week's episode, we have rankings of every team's bullpen. I rank bullpens the same way I rank starters from last week. Base hits of 90 command, 90 break, 90 stuff, 75 velocity, and a 5-pitch mix. For every command, break, stuff, and velocity above those thresholds, +1. For every stat below, minus 1.5. For the number of pitches, +5 for extra pitches. So 6 pitches would be +5. 7 would be +10. But if you only have 4 pitches, that's -5. 3 pitches would be -10. Any pitcher that doesn't have at least 3 pitches was excluded on the premise that you would not have a 2-pitch pitcher in your bullpen in this game, no matter how good their stats are. With that being said, we're going to jump into the rankings. And the worst bullpen, the Minnesota Twins, pains me to say it. They actually have a really good Taylor Rogers card, and they have a decent, I don't even remember who their other positive reliever was. Then they have their third and fourth relievers at -3.5 and -5. But what really kills the Twins bullpen and actually gives them a -10 for score, their fifth reliever is -18 and their sixth reliever -23.5. So they have 2 good relievers, but their other 4 are not good. At number 29 is the Miami Marlins, who also came in at number 29 on the starting pitcher ranks. They have 3 good relievers, a 14, an 11, and an 11. I did not include, because we have the $2 billion GP price cap for players included in the rankings, the high-class Steve Cishek, which is about $2.6 billion GP. If we include that, it bumps the Marlins bullpen from 29th to 28th. But regardless, they are in the worst tier of bullpens. I mean, certainly still better than the Twins, but like Drew Steckenrider, 3-pitch mix, kills his value even though he has nice stats. I think most Marlins relievers either lack the stats or lack the pitch mixes to get them ranked much higher. At number 28, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. They have a couple of good relievers, but their 5th and 6th ones are worth a -5 and a -13. So while they have some okay relievers, I mean, their top ones are 23 and 17 on the rankings, which roughly equates to 95 command, 95 break, 95 stuff, 80 velocity, which would be nice. Or more likely, some combination of that and a 6th pitch. So maybe 95, 95, 95, 75, and an extra pitch. That's for your first 2. Then a 9 is like a 93, 93, 93, 75. 5.5 is like a 93, 92, 90, 75, and then you have negatives that are worse from there. I did forget to mention as we move from Tier 7 to Tier 6, there are 7 tiers once again. Same color coding as the starting pitchers, but to start off Tier 6, the Seattle Mariners at a 62.5. They actually have world's best Edwin Diaz, which is worth 51 points, and the entire team's bullpen is only worth 62.5. They also have another reliever worth 21 points. The problem, they have a 5, a 2.5, a -3, and a -14 to round out the bullpen. So they're very, very top-heavy with good talent and then literally nothing to support it on the back end. At 26th, we have the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm a little bit surprised they were this low, but what I realized as I was ranking the cards, they don't have too many good 2018 cards, and the 2018 cards have the best stats. Now, they've got pitchers with great pitch mixes and decent but not great stats, or they've got good stats but not the best pitch mixes. They have a 25 and 24 at the top for their bullpen, their third reliever, an 11.5, which certainly gives them a top 3 better than what we've seen so far. But then a 7, a 2.5, and a -2 on the back end doesn't really support that very well. Coming in 25th, the Chicago White Sox. Now this bullpen, their top 4 are 19, 19, 17, and 17. But then their last 2 are an 8 and a -8. Basically what that means, they have 4 below average, but solid functional relievers, and their last two just aren't really cutting it. And then at 24th, the Cleveland Indians. Their relievers just don't have the best pitch mixes, and the ones that have good pitch mixes are lacking in stats. We now move on to Tier 5. Now, with Tier 5, they're not too much better than Tier 6, but 23 is actually tied for 22nd with number 22. We have the Washington Nationals, who are the first team to have relievers that are all ranked in the positives, by which I mean above 0. They just don't have any top-end talent. And then the Arizona Diamondbacks, I believe Young Kim was able to count for this, but if not, but regardless, they have a reliever worth 44, another worth 16, another worth 14, and then 9.5. But their last two relievers are -1 and -5, below replacement. Not very good, whereas the Nationals, all in the positives, just not anything top end. And we actually have a tie between 20 and 21 as well. We've got the Philadelphia Phillies, who have a 34, a 37, and a 25 in their bullpen, but a -6 and -12.5 on the back end. And then the Baltimore Orioles, actually 20th in bullpen. Their pitch mixes just aren't that great to supplement good stats on their cards. They do have a 24, 21, 16, 14, and 11, but a -2 at the end. Then at 19th, the Cincinnati Reds. Top three relievers, 29, 25, 24, very solid. Back three are pretty close to average, though. Now we move into Tier 4, what I consider average bullpens. And at 18th, the Houston Astros. Nobody in the negative, no top-end talent, but their top-end talent is a little bit better than that of the Washington Nationals. They've got a 23, a 21, an 18, and a 14. Then just ahead of them at 17th, in the same state of Texas, the Texas Rangers, 27 and 20 on their top-end guys. Very similar bullpen composure to the Astros. Maybe one favors stats more and the other favors pitch mixes more. I did not make a note of that, and in hindsight kind of regret that. But regardless, Texas and Houston have pretty similarly ranked bullpens. Then at 16th, the San Francisco Giants. Their best reliever, a 23. Their worst reliever, an 11.5. So not a ton of upside, but not a ton of downside. At 15, their in-state rivals, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Top three, 25, 23.5, 20. Fourth and fifth relievers, both 16s. Their fifth reliever has to take a 0, though. So if they get one more good reliever, even if that reliever was worth, let's say 15, 16 points, they would move from Tier 4 up to Tier 3. At number 14, the team with the best starting pitching staff in the game, the New York Mets. Their top three bullpen options, a 34, a 31, and a 25, means they have both great pitch mixes and great stats. Problem is their bottom three, a 14, a 7.5, and then a -8.5. Seeing a negative reliever this high in the list tells you just how good their top-end relievers are, but also tells you just how bad their bullpen depth actually is. At number 13, the last of the Tier 4 teams, the Pittsburgh Pirates. Worst reliever is a 12, best reliever a 27. Just consistently above replacement, but about average is what I would describe their bullpen as. Now we move into Tier 3, which is above average, starting with the Detroit Tigers, who have 4 relievers above 20, worst relievers at 12. But those 4 relievers at or above 20, 2 are 20s, 2 are 23s. So good relievers, but nothing over the top. At number 11, the Colorado Rockies, just above the Detroit Tigers. Pretty similar bullpen composition. You have a couple of 24s, a 23, a 20.5. Then your back end is a 16 and a 9. I'd say there's not much to differentiate their bullpens from each other. At number 10, the Tampa Bay Rays. Top end is a little heavier with a 34 and a 25. Bottom end's a little lighter with an 11 and 2 14s, but pretty similar to Colorado and Detroit. At number 9, the San Diego Padres. Top 3 relievers, a 32, a 29, and a 27. Bottom 3, a 5, a 13, and a 15. More top-heavy, more bottom light than the Rays, the Rockies, or the Tigers, but still pretty similar company there. Now we move into Tier 2. These are, above average, but not quite the best. At number 8, we have the Chicago Cubs. They have great relievers, 4 of them, a 46, a 27, a 25, a 22. They even have a 16, but they're missing one reliever. Their 6th reliever is worth -11. If that even turned into a 0, they would shoot all the way up to number 5 from number 8. So they've got 5 very good relief options. They just need a 6th one to round out that bullpen. At number 7, the Oakland Athletics. Nobody in the negatives. They have 2 top relievers of 48, which is going to be like top 3 to 5 in the game. I'm trying to remember who that was. I believe that might have been Juris Familia. Although I think the 27, their second best reliever was Juris Familia, which means the 48 likely would have been like a top-end Blake Trinan. Their last 4 relievers are about average 15s, 14, and an 8.5. At number 6, the New York Yankees, similar to the Oakland A's in terms of their top reliever worth of 45, then 33 and 31. So they have one more top reliever, but their bottom 2 relievers, a -0.5 and a 2.5. So they need 2 more good relievers. But let's say those both turned into 8s. You have a team, again, maybe even number 4. Finally, the Milwaukee Brewers. Top 3 relievers, phenomenal. 40, 34, and 29. I believe that's a Jeremy Jeffress. I believe there's a Josh Hader in there. And I think the third one might be Joakim Soria. I might be wrong about that, but I know for sure Hader and Jeremy Jeffress are up there. The bottom 3, a 9, a 10, and a 12. Nothing special, though. And we now move into our top 4, the top tier. It's not nearly as spread out as the starting pitching was, where the New York Mets were head and shoulders above everybody else. These top 4 all have good bullpens and are in Tier 1, the best bullpens you can get. At number 4, the Boston Red Sox. They have 4 relievers over 20, a 5th reliever at 19.5. Their 6th reliever comes in at 6.5. So they have a good combination of rounded, near top-end talent that goes deep a bit. And their worst reliever, well, not anything special, is not nearly as bad as most other teams' worst reliever. At number 3, the Kansas City Royals have 2 top-tier relievers, a 49 and a 44. I believe one's a Wade Davis, and I believe the other is probably a Joakim Soria. Now, they actually have a -0.5 for their last reliever. If that turned into, a 10, they're the best bullpen in the game. Their 3rd through 5th relievers all in the 16 to 18 range. So, that average to slightly above average rank. But again, the top tier talent is very top tier. At number 2, the Toronto Blue Jays, a 42 and a 41. At the top end of their bullpen, one of those is a Roberto Osuna. The other, I believe, might be a Liam Hendricks. I know there's a Liam Hendricks either in Toronto or Oakland's bullpen. Their 3rd through 6th relievers are all in the 12 to 20 range, so they're carried by 2 top-tier relievers, but a nice bullpen overall. And at number 1, the Atlanta Braves. Their top 4 relievers all have the same score of 29. Then they have 19 and a 16 at the back end of the bullpen. So nothing elite, but their top 4 relievers are all very, very good. I double-checked the numbers. Their top 4 relievers all score out the same. Now, some have better stats, not quite the same pitch mix. Some have better pitch mixes, not quite the same stats. But that's good to have that variability in your bullpen. Where does that come from? A lot of it is the 2018 live SC cards. When I said 2018 cards are the best, and that's why a team like the St. Louis Cardinals that had great relievers prior to 2018 now scores near the bottom, it's because those cards didn't have nearly as good of stats for the same overall as a 2018 card does. So yeah, that's going to just about do it. The best bullpens: Atlanta, Toronto, Kansas City, Boston, and Milwaukee. The worst bullpens: Minnesota, Miami, Los Angeles, Seattle, and St. Louis. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like. If you're new around here, subscribe for more MLB Perfect Inning 2018 content. Part 3 will be out a week from Saturday, which will be, I believe, February 2nd. That will be the top 4 batters for each team. And then February 9th will be Part 4, the top 9 batters, which is basically your 8 in the field plus a DH. And then Part 5 on February 16th, to wrap up this mini-series, will be the overall rankings, where I take the first 4 parts, I figure out how to weight them, and come up with an overall ranking. The reason I say weighting it is certainly starters, bullpen, top 4, and top 9 are not all equal, although all are important and should factor in some way. So figuring out, okay, how much more valuable is the bullpen than everything else? To what extent does starting pitching have value? To what extent does the top 4 matter versus the top 9? Once something relatively balanced and that makes sense comes about with that, then I'll have those final rankings. But that is going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, and as always, peace out.